Hello and welcome to my Thursday forecast. So let's get right into looking at the euro and the US dollar. We are still in this range. Nothing has really changed. So we broke to the downside, had a retrace, broke to the downside again, had a retrace with a wick, and then we shot to the upside. And I was looking at this for a reversal play, because I was seeing this descending structure. But we ended with an absolutely huge wick, which definitely made me stay out of looking for any trades. And currently I'm now just waiting for the price to break the low or the high. So the low would be here, the high would be right here. What I can forecast is that we will just continue ranging. So something like this. I know that the euro really likes to range for a long time, and currently we are stuck in this flat range. So what I would like to see and where I would like to look for a trade is if we get a nice push to the upside, look for a trade, or we get a nice big push to the downside, look for a trade. Also, I would like to see a push, a pullback, another push, and a bullet long trade. So same thing to the downside, push, pullback, another push, and the bullet short trade. What can happen is that we can have an ascending to the upside that breaks the high, then a push to the downside. I would look for a trade. Or we can get a descending structure, push to the upside. I would also look for a trade right here. Also, what can sometimes happen is that we can get this ascending structure and then we push to the upside. I would then look also for a trade, but it needs to move away far from this range and get some conviction, get some momentum behind it, because we are currently just stuck in this area without any clear direction. Also, that can happen to the downside, so we can just get a descending that breaks the low, then a impulse to the downside, look for a trade. And I know that on the euro pairs that this can happen. So this sort of play where there we have an ascending, then the price pushes in the same direction, and we get an opportunity. So yeah, that is it for the euro. Currently it is just ranging price action, and now let's move on to the euro and the Japanese yen. So this is the new pair that I added, and what I can see currently is that we were in this ascending structure. So we were ascending right here. As you can see, we were in an ascending structure, and then what we did get is a smaller ascending at the top. So right here we got this smaller ascending. And I know when I see a smaller ascending in a bigger ascending structure, that there is a very high probability the price will move to the downside. So once we got this confirmation and this nice push to the downside, I was definitely looking for trades, and I was looking to enter on a continuation to the downside. But what we then got is a wick, and we got a really big retrace to the upside. So currently this is aggressively retracing to the upside. So my entry point would be right at this point, because there is an inside bar right here, and I look for inside bars to enter trades. So the price would need to reach all the way to the upside right here, and that would create actually a V. And I know that when we get a V, we usually get just a range, and I want to be staying out of the market when we get a V reversal. So currently, because also I'm looking for only high probability setups, since it is the end of December, this doesn't actually fit my plan. Maybe if we get a really slow ascending structure to the entry point, but currently to me that this just doesn't seem very high probability, and I will probably be staying out and waiting to see what happens when the price breaks either the low or the high. So what can happen, we can just stay ranging right here, get this larger range, and we know that when we get a larger range, so there are liquidity areas to the upside, so to the upside and to downside, and we need to see what happens when the price reaches those liquidity areas, because people keep their stop losses in those areas and the price is likely to react aggressively. So what can also happen, we can get, as I said, a V reversal and then just a small range right here, then a continuation to the upside, because that is a setup. When we get a V reversal, small range, then the price continues in the second leg, so continues to the upside. Also what can happen, so we can get a bomb right here and shoot to downside, then we can start trending to a downside. But as I said, I'm looking for only high probability setups, and currently this candle looks to be aggressively retracing, and I will most likely stay out of any bomb opportunities. We can get a push straight from here, then I will look for a trade. We can get a push, then a pullback to this area. I would then look for a bullet trade, because I now know that we are on a downtrend. So we have one impulse, second impulse, and what makes it even a higher probability is that we were in an ascending structure before, so the price is likely to push to the downside. Also what can happen, we can get a descending from here, then I would wait for a push to the upside, look for a trade. What can also happen is that we can just have a really big push to the upside. I would then look also for a trade. Or we can get an impulse, pull back another impulse, then I would look for a bullet long trade. Also a possibility is that we get this ascending structure, price breaks the high, then we drop to the downside. I would then look for a short trade. And yeah, that is it for some of the possibilities currently. So we were in an ascending structure, we are currently seeing momentum to the downside. So there is a high possibility that this momentum will continue, but currently I'm waiting for the break of the low or the high, because this pullback candle just seems to have too much momentum, be too aggressive for me, and I'm looking for only very high probability trades since we are in this period, which is the end of December. So currently I classified this as a reversal to downside, because we had an ascending and reversed to downside. So now let's move on. So the Aussie and the US dollar is currently heavily ranging. We are just breaking the lows, retracing, breaking the highs, retracing, getting really large wicks, so huge wicks on the upside and on the downside. So currently not showing me any trend, not showing me any momentum, and signaling to me that I want to be more patient. So what I can forecast is that we will just continue ranging. And I would like to see a nice big impulse to the upside, look for a trade. Or an impulse, pull back another impulse, look for a bullet long trade. We can get an ascending structure right here. Then I would look for a drop to the downside, look for a trade. Or we can get a nice push to the downside, look for a trade. Really big push, pull back another push, look for a bullet short trade. And this would be very high probability. Also we can get a descending structure that breaks the low. Then we push to the upside, I would look for a long trade. But what I need to keep in mind is that there are liquidity areas, so below and above the range. And we need to see what happens when the price reaches those liquidity areas, because we can just break into them and retrace straight away and continue ranging, which I don't want to be doing. I want to see a nice big impulse and a confirmation that we are out of the range. Then I will look for a trade. So currently the Aussie is heavily ranging, and so yeah, that is it for this pair. Now let's move on to the last pair. So the Aussie and the Japanese yen. What I can see right here is that we were so we broke the low right here, got a large wick, broke the low again, got a wick, broke the high, retraced, broke the high, retraced, broke the high with momentum, but then got double wicks, retraced. We then broke the high again, with a clean close but retrace straight away. So to me this is just signaling a larger ascending structure right here. That is what I can see. So an ascending structure, and also on the larger scale we are also ascending. So to me this looks like a smaller ascending inside the bigger ascending, and the price is likely to push to downside, especially because we are struggling to push to the upside. We are just breaking the highs, retracing, breaking the highs, retracing with wicks, and again breaking the highs, retracing with wicks right here. So what I would really like to see is a nice big push to the downside, then a nice clean bump. As I said, I'm looking for only high probability opportunities right now. Or I would like to see a push, pull back another push, then I will look for a bullet short trade. We can just get a descending from here, then I would look for a push to the upside, look for a trade. We can also just stay ranging right here because it's the end of the year and maybe not a lot of volatilities in the market. Or we can continue with the ascending structure. Then I would also be looking for the price to push to downside and look to enter a trade. We can shoot up from here, and I would be careful with this because I know that this may be a setup on the euro, but on the Aussie and the Japanese yen it may not play out as good, so I need to be more careful. Or we can push to the upside, get a pullback, another push, look for a long trade. This will be very high probability since we are now in a trend. I see one impulse and I see a second impulse, so I classify that as a trending market. And so yeah, that is some of the possibilities. Currently I classify this price action as being ascending, and when I see an ascending structure, especially when I see a large ascending structure, then a small ascending structure at the top, then we get a nice push to downside. This to me is a very high probability that the price will continue to downside, and I'm definitely looking for some trades to the downside. So yeah, that is it for the forecast. Currently sitting on my hands and waiting for a very high probability opportunity.